the new guy, the new president, had a very busy day yesterday, which we'll get into in a bit, but apparently he's still finding the time to look into something that's truly bothering him since the election. Take a look. So I call that alternative fact number one.
Yeah.
The reason is because, remember Jill Stein when she was petitioning for a recount?
Yeah.
His guys argued and said all available evidence suggests that the 2016 election was not tainted by fraud or mistakes. So which is it?
Those were his lawyers.
Those are his lawyers. So I assume they spoke to him.
But the other thing
and mentioned it.
The other thing that's interesting is that Spicer said that the reason that Trump believed this was because there was a 2014 study by Jesse Richmond and David Ernest who found more than 14% of non-citizens in 2008 and 2010 indicated that they were registered to vote. However, it's been debunked because the people that funded the study, President Trump, said that these same researchers spoke with voters later and discovered that they had all mistakenly clicked the wrong button and that they were actually citizens. So he's relying on a study that was false.
You know what? If the
Alternative fact number two.
If the election was rigged and there's voted for it, I say let's do it over again. Let's do it again.
You mentioned the alternative facts. Well, Spicer was on Sean Hannity on Fox last night, and he was trying to explain they compared alternative facts to a varying weather report. And he said, the press was trying to make it seem like we were ignoring the facts when the facts are that. Sometimes you look at a situation the same way you can look at a weather report. One weather report comes out and says it's going to be cloudy, and the next one says there's going to be light rain. No one lied to you.
That's alternative fact number two.
Number three.
That's number.
Well, this is like Judge Judy's book. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. Right? That's a book.
Well, I feel like they need to. I like Sean Spicer's approach in the clip we just showed. When he says the president believes that and keeps pushing it off, I think you can trust him a little more with his words. But I know an 8th grade English teacher once told me, once you've dug yourself in a hole, stop digging.
Yeah.
Well, wise words.
Keep in mind that this is, this goes along with the millions of Muslims that he apparently saw on a video somewhere in New Jersey. Everybody in New Jersey was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, I understand it, but you should, it just, there is no voter fraud.
There is.
And if you really believe there is voter fraud, and apparently he does, and he says they're going to investigate it, then good. We want you to do it with an uninterested party. That's who we want to investigate this.
An objective third party.
An objective third party, maybe from Russia. I don't know.
What's interesting to me about this is that he won the election. You know, typically you see this kind of activity from someone who didn't win, coming back and saying, well, the reason I didn't win is X, Y. You won the election. You're the president now. Get over it and get on to policy.
He wants the popular vote. He wants the popular vote as well.
If he was going to have a conversation, I think there are conversations to be had about, and we have them here at the table, voter ID laws, good idea, bad idea. If he wants to have a conversation about important issues related to voting, fine. That's great. I actually support voter ID laws for many reasons. That's fine. We can disagree. We can debate. We can talk it out. But you can't say that the reason I didn't win the popular vote is because of this if there's no proof of that. You don't get to do that.
Further, though, he's saying that now he's going to...
People care.
But
he may not care.
He's going further because now he's saying that he's going to open up investigations, and he's really going down a bad path.
Well,
because
let him investigate it.
But there was because there was a 5-year, there was a 5-year probe that the Bush administration started on voter fraud, and the Department of Justice led that, and it led to a lot of resignations and a lot of our taxpayer dollars, not Trump's taxpayer dollars, but ours being used.
Does anybody think that maybe this is all a red herring to distract America from looking at this extreme reactionary agenda that he is pushing through?
I don't think his agenda is reactionary, though.
Come on.
His agenda, when I look at his agenda, you could disagree with it. It's exactly what he said he was going to
Okay,
do.
to
I mean,
that
this is
point.
what people voted for. That voted for him.
Yeah.
His voters said, and that Selena Zito, I believe her name is, she's not a Trump supporter, she's a journalist who understands the Trump voters' mind. And she said, we have to understand people's minds. She said that his voters did not, they took him seriously, but not literally. Whereas the liberal media took him literally. And literally, he is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. So they were right.
I mean, I'm a center-right person. I'm looking at the agenda. I'm not surprised by any of it. I'm not. This is exactly what I thought he was going to do.
To overthrow the EPA,
Well,
to overthrow Obama.
We can
let's
talk about
start
it. We're going
from
to get
here
to it.
so that we can get into everything.
All
Aides to the new president leaked some details to the Washington Post about his somewhat erratic behavior since the election. Supposedly was very enraged when he saw how the Women's March kind of overshadowed the inauguration coverage. I mean, and it's just, obviously, so the question is, you know, what's happening? Because he's doing everything, you're right, he's doing everything he said he was going to do. See, we did take him literal. We took him literally.
Yeah.
That's why people were upset. They knew what he was going to do, and they voted for him anyway. So, okay, so now that you're looking at all of this, and you're saying, so, we're now going to pay for some wall that, you know, that you say you're going to build. So he's written that, and we're not taking care of, you know, different countries who we help with various things, and the Netherlands said, well, you know, we'll step in to do that. Do you think that he believes he's going to be able to do everything with no problem? You think he's not going to have a problem with the blocking of the EPA and the media?
I think that he has everything on his side right now, and that's what's frightening about democracy right now. Every branch of government is Republican. Everyone in his cabinet is on his
You think
team.
they don't see this, though?
Well, I don't
You
know
think that
who's
they
going
care?
to oppose him. Look at the way McCain has buckled down. Look at the way Marco Rubio. Remember the conversation?
Tillerson.
And I said to you, he's not going. He's going to vote for Tillerson. He acts like, oh, I don't like it, and then he votes for him. I mean, everything is going his way, which is why I don't know why he's so intent on doing these executive actions. Boom, 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 boom.
Well,
He's
every
got the
president
votes.
does that. I mean, President Obama issued more
Maybe
executive
he's afraid
orders.
he's going to get impeached, and he has to do it fast.
No.
Maybe that's it.
President Obama, they all do this. President Obama issued more executive orders than
Yeah, but
any
he
president
had
had to date.
opposite-
And
No,
I
that's
remember,
not.
wait a
That is
minute,
not
he
true.
said,
That is not
alternate-
true.
I remember,
No, that's not true. It's actually not
I
true. He's
remember
done a lot of them, but
a
he
lot of
has
them.
not done the most.
And I remember a quote from him, I don't know if I have it here, but I sort of remember it, this isn't verbatim, where he was saying, I have a pen and a phone, and that was how he was going to govern. When he couldn't get stuff through Congress, as many
That's why he
presidents
has
do.
to go back to
Look,
get it
I don't like
Congress.
I don't
This guy
like
has
executive
everybody on
orders.
his side.
Look,
He has to. He doesn't
and
have
so
to.
did
You're
he.
screaming.
Sorry. So did he.
This one beats me up every day, and now she's complaining that I'm screaming.
Let's bring our voices down and bring our voices down a notch.
I think the difference in what you're saying in terms of executive action is at least it took Obama at least a couple of months in. This one has come in, and he said, we're doing this and this and this. And I understand that because all presidents have these.
And I
things
don't
they
like
wanna
it
do.
across the board. I don't like executive orders in general. I think
Yeah.
it's a bad idea because I think that branches of government exist for a reason, and they're supposed to be checks on your power. So I opposed it when he did it, and I oppose it when Trump is doing it.
But do you see that there's a difference that one needs to do it and the other one doesn't need to do it?
Look, President Obama had Congress with him. There was a Democratic Congress for when he started out his presidency. He had their support. When
But he didn't
presidents
do
come-
executive
this is
orders
how-
in the beginning. He didn't do it in the beginning.
All I'm saying
He did
is
the second
elections
year.
have-
I'm just saying.
All I'm saying is elections have consequences. When
know
people
that.
dislike what's happening in the country, they vote in a Democrat, and sometimes they vote in a Democrat
Isn't it true
Congress.
that he's doing exactly what his voters wanted him to do?
Yes, this is what they
I don't
wanted.
think they're surprised at all. I think they are in
I don't think they're surprised. Listen, I'm not surprised. I'm saying I wasn't surprised. I've been saying he's going to do exactly what he said. Everybody else was like, well, let's see. I said, no. When you see
that's
who
right.
he surrounded
That's what he
himself
ran on.
with, that's what he's going to do. So what can we do? We'll talk about that when we come back.
Coming up, paternity suits. Why custody of dogs, cats, and other critters is now on the table in some divorce courts.
Welcome back. As we we said, the new president's made good on many of his campaign promises. Yesterday, he's halting immigration from some Middle Eastern countries, promising a big announcement on the border wall, which I really don't want to pay for. Okay, because you said, we're going to make them do it.
Yeah.
Well,
How's he going to get it?
I mean, you're the big negotiator, right? You're the big dog negotiating, dude. Make them pay for
And
it.
the price tag is $15 billion to $25 billion.
Right out of our pockets.
That's the price tag, everyone.
And you didn't say we were going to be doing that.
Yeah.
Because I think people would have said, or as Christella said, there are many more tunnels. Maybe we should think about that, huh?
Well, the truth of the matter is that people who are coming in illegally are flying in. They're not really jumping over the wall. They're flying, and the airports are taking care of this. It's another.
I don't know. I just know that it was not something that that the American taxpayer was supposed to be paying.
One of the things he's proposing, though, is to fix the infrastructure, which will probably cost a lot of money. I will guarantee you the Republicans will not go along with that, because that will actually help the country.
You're talking about roads, bridges.
Yes, roads, bridges, water, air pollution, all that.
Let me tell you why they will do it. So they can say, yeah, we took care of it. We did this. We fixed the country. Because remember, Obama said, listen, we got to take care of this. We got to do this. They said, no, we're not doing it. We don't see what you're talking about. And so, listen, anything they can get done, where they can say, see, he's doing his job. Advancing the Keystone and Dakota pipeline, that's, people are trying to check out and make sure that there's not going to be any issues for people's drinking water. The Army Corps of Engineers said, just hold up. We want to see what we need to do. So let them do that. But how about this, the supposed media blackout on the EPA? On EPA. I mean, is that...
It's like the Secret Service, the KGB.
I'm most concerned about this Muslim ban, actually. I spoke to my friend Amna Nawaz. She's an ABC News correspondent. If people don't know who she is, please look her up. She's one of our Muslim journalists.
And what she...
Amna, A-M-N-A, Nawaz.
N-A-W-A-Z.
Yes, Nawaz.
Okay.
What she told me just this morning was that this Muslim ban was already in effect post 9/11.
Yes.
And it was a reactionary policy. And what we found was they used the data, they
got all the data.
They got all the data.
Didn't
then
find anybody.
They didn't find anybody. It didn't lead to one conviction, one terror charge. But what it did do is it created a database of more than 80,000 young men, most of whom had broken no laws. They had committed no crime, but just happened to be from a certain country. And what it did was it rose and grew this anti-American sentiment.
Right.
And I'm just so surprised that Trump is willing to do that again when we already know that it was a failed policy that President Obama repealed just in December.
But it looks good. You see, it looks good. It looks like he's tough on terror. But it's not. It has nothing to do.
Proven to fail.
Listen, it has nothing to do with being smart.
Like 9/11, it's playing on fear. It's playing
It's what it looks like. It's what it looks like, basically. That's what it is.
I just don't understand it. It's already been a failed policy. Why would you renew
he's going to
that?
have to do some research. I mean, he's supported when you talk about he is. Because when you talk about waterboarding, if you remember, he had conversations where he supported waterboarding, and then he said he talked to some military officials, some military generals, and they came back and said, actually, there's no proof that this actually helps us in our fight against terrorism, and he reversed his decision. So I don't know that all of this stuff is going to go through. I will say with respect to Keystone and stuff like that doesn't surprise me, because people on the right, many people voted for him because he was going to support energy infrastructure, and that's what it looks like. Keystone has been under, I did a lot of research on Keystone. I care very much about the environment, as many people know. It has been under environmental review by the State Department. There have been 4 environmental reviews done on Keystone in particular, and a 5th final statement that was released. And what they found was that it was a minimal threat to the environment, meaning wildlife,
Why didn't they put it where they originally wanted to put it? They wanted to put it in a neighborhood that said, we don't want it.
Yeah.
Let's start with that.
Well, wait a minute.
What about the Native
That's when they moved it to the Native Americans, who said, the pipeline's going over our drinking water sources.
For Dakota.
And so there was all this. And now, the Army Corps of Engineers said, listen, let us just see what the best thing to do is. as long as he listens to the Army Corps of Engineers, he can do whatever he wants. But I just feel like, you know, this thing was moved from a neighborhood of folks who had the power to say, we don't want this here.
Yeah.
Okay.
My problem is the gag order, though.
The gag order is
And the reason I will distinguish that is if what Jed said is right, is this is why people voted for him, then he should stand behind that and own that. By shutting people up that disagree or want to speak out, like national parks, and say, this is what's going on, because even though he put that gag order on, the Badlands National Park tweeted anyway and said one of the tweets was, in fact, they did multiple tweets. One was, today the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is higher than at any time in the last 650,000 years, #climate. Since then, all of those tweets have been taken down, but not before everyone screen grabbed them. And so they will eventually probably find this person. So people are already tweeting at this rogue environmentalist saying, thank you for promoting science. When you inevitably get fired, let me know so I can pass along your resume. But I think that the gag is the part that scares me.
And you know, the other thing is, you know, he had this tweet yesterday. You know, he's been talking about what's going on in the inner cities. And sort of tweeted at Rahm Emanuel and Chicago that he was going to send in the feds if they didn't, here it is, if they don't fix the horrible carnage going on. Now, carnage is a very, you know, it's a word that you only use when you've seen carnage.
Yes.
If you've never seen carnage, you can talk about all the stuff that's going in all our inner cities. But using those words are inflammatory. But the idea that you want to send the feds in when the governor hasn't said, hey, listen, we're having trouble. Can you come in? Can you send us? Because that's starting to smack of martial law.
Somebody told me he's really, actually, he was pissed at, pissed with Rahm Emanuel. It's so typical of him. Rahm Emanuel says something against him, and then he's talking about the carnage. It's like tit for tat, this guy. Everything's personal, you know?
But you know, I understand, I'm fine with it, but there are things you can't do. You start talking about sending feds in to a state that no one has asked them for, that says to me, again, martial law, which I don't think we need. I don't think it's good to black things out, because you said you wanted to keep the government out of everything, and here you come. With dragging the government in.
Well, when it suits him. When it suits him.
Well, I think the bigger issue, though, is that he's doing it. This isn't a private conversation he's having behind the scenes with officials from other countries. He's tweeting it out. And if that, honestly, if that was where your head was, you shouldn't be releasing all of that information to the public via Twitter, because you also think about terrorism and things like that. That's not how you operate.
We'll be right back with more. We'll come back. Before we went to break, I cut you off. What were you trying to say?
I was just, when Trump tweets about Chicago, and he says that there were 228 shootings in 2017 and 42 killings, up 24% from 2016, that is true. But I don't think he is addressing the real problem, which is we need to reduce gun violence. And so if he were talking about that kind of policy, I think that would be very important. And Representative Gutierrez issued this statement. He said, when the president wants to work with states and localities on public policies to reduce gun violence, he will find partners in cities like Chicago, but I think he'd rather spend his time on Twitter. And that's really it in a nutshell. I mean, we need to start talking about instead of carnage, real policies that reduce gun violence.
Well, they believe the more guns you have, the less violence you'll have. That's what they believe on that side.
And this former federal prosecutor will tell you it's
you're
not
arming people who are law-abiding citizens, and those people who have guns that are criminals are going to get them anyway, and you want people who are law-abiding citizens to be able to counter criminals. Chicago has the strictest gun control laws, some of the strictest gun control laws in the country, and they have a ton of gun violence.
So you agree with that?
I'm a pro-Second Amendment girl. If you're a law-abiding citizen and you make it through your background checks, I want you to be able to.
Well, that's the key.
You just said the key.
I support background checks. I do.
You know, there's a great book that I've been listening to.
The liberal.
Redneck liberal. And the guy is brilliant. I mean, if you don't know this, brilliant.
Let's get him on the show.
Yes, I've been working on that.
Okay. That's good.
Say what?
Next month.
Next month.
Okay. So, you know, him talking about, because he's a guy from the South, okay? And he said, listen, there's a lot of us down here, but don't misunderstand me. They hunt, they shoot, they have a good time. But he said, we don't have any issues with background checks.
Right.
He said if we're trying to do background checks on people who may be mentally challenged or they have all kind of criminal background, if you're complaining about it, he said, then I'm going to assume that you're mentally challenged or you got a criminal background.
Yeah.
You have no reason not to accept a background check.
Yeah.
Ever.
I had a conversation with someone in Texas about that and asked him about that, and because he's a Second Amendment guy, he supports background checks, and he said that a lot of the people who oppose it feel that it's a slippery slope. Their argument is that it's going to go from background checks to limiting the types of guns you can have to limiting the ammo you can have to suddenly your Second Amendment rights are under fear.
On the other side of this is one of Donald's sons, Hans or Fritz, I don't know which one it is. I think it's Junior. Donald Jr. believes that not only should everybody have a gun, but they should all have a silencer on their guns. Now, if you're at the airport and you're on level 2 and there's a gunfight on level 1, you should be able to hear that so that you can get the hell out of there. So on top of all this, they want to put a silencer on. Now, that is when you want to kill somebody and you don't want anybody to hear you. What is going on?
Thank you for explaining the silencer.
Where is this country going? Yeah.
You know, listen, there are a lot of ways.
It's like the little sister you never
Yeah,
wanted.
I know, it's true. I'm an only child. You know what I mean? I would have swatted you.
Welcome to Bitch Fight 101.
And actually, we like each other.
I love her.
But there are a lot of issues that if people come at you the right way, you know, if it was about, hey, what can I do to help Chicago?
Yes.
Can I help you?
Yes.
As opposed to, you know, I don't like what you said, so I'm going to mess with you on Twitter. That's not the way to go. Now, I know a lot of people love him. They love what he does. They love what he says. But, you know, when you hear a lie, I believe everybody's parents said to them, don't lie.
Yes.
If you hear a lie, recognize
You know
a lie.
why? Who loves him? I'll tell you who loves Donald Trump. Rich people. Because today the Dow hit 20,000 points, which is the highest ever.
Yeah.
So people who are in the
That would
stock
have happened.
market.
It went to 19.
Couldn't that be good for the country, though, in all
hope so.
fairness?
I hope so.
Yeah, but don't underestimate, too, there are a lot of people who were struggling, who voted for him because they thought he was going to help them out, who also are bothered when he does some of these things on Twitter, who also are saying, hey, I voted for you because I thought you were going to help me, you know, keep more of my hard-earned cash, and we're going to help my Obamacare premiums go down, but I also don't like what you're doing here. So they're holding him to account, too.
I'm thrilled with that because that's the dialogue you want to have.
Yes.
That's right. What do you want, son?
I have a correction I have to make. We said earlier today that there were executive actions already in place. That's not true. Sources are telling us that President Trump will unveil executive actions on immigration today.
Yeah.
So still to be determined.
Yeah, there's lots of...
And while you're doing that, I want to tip my hat to you. I had said earlier before that Obama issued more executive orders than any president, and that's actually incorrect. I made a mistake. What I do know is that he issued executive orders in his first week of office, much like many presidents do. But you are 100% right, and I like to give credit where it's due.
All right, thank you.
Who did? Alternative fact check.
It goes back. That's our fact check.
I'm going to that.
Alternative fact check.
You know, a lot of people blame their partner for messing up their relationship. But a woman posted on a blog website, lifestyle website, Elite Daily, after she suddenly realized that it turns out she was the crazy in that relationship. Does anybody else know how she feels? Is there crazy in your relationship?
Cray in a relationship is good because you have a little spice, you have a little fire.
Well, we know what you did.
I don't remember a day when I wasn't the crazy one.
Yeah, I'm the crazy one in our relationship. I realized that the day that my husband hung up my soon-to-be husband hung up the phone on me, and I went into his
day that
house.
will live in infamy.
And I took all of his phones. I did. I took all of his phones, and I walked out into the highway, and I threw all the phones on the highway, and I told him he didn't have phone etiquette, and he didn't need phones. And then I realized that maybe I was the crazy one.
Yeah.
But it's 20 years later, and he loves me because I'm spicy.
Spicy. Crazy became spicy very fast.
Look, Cray Cray's good for a relationship.
No, Cray Cray's not good for a relationship, babe. No,
Look,
no.
Whoopi wrote a book about it.
Yeah, you know what? You can be crazy on your own when you go around your house, but you know what? You need to be face to face with the person. You can't be cray cray in the relationship. Would make me cray. I don't know what I would do, because you would never know if you could depend on somebody if they're crazy. See, crazy is, you got to be careful.
I think in my relationship, I think Steve would say that I was the sane one, and if he doesn't say that, I'll kill him.
I've met Steve.
He's so sweet.
So we know you're the crazy one, apparently.
Yeah.
And what about you?
It depends. I had a moment. I dated a guy who was he was incredibly stable. It was hard to rattle him, and I tried, believe me, but he was very, very measured, and I was crazy in that relationship, and it was a turning point for me, because when I had a moment where I kind of looked at myself, I was screaming irrationally, made no sense. There was no reason why. Pulling a Sarah, as I say. And
Crazy,
I went
didn't you?
crazy. I punched a wall. I was and I had a moment where I looked in the mirror. I did, and I was like, whoa, I'm nuts. I'm off the wall. And I changed after that. And since then, I'm much more stable. Not fully, but I'm still a little spicy, as Sunny would say. But I did realize that can be really toxic to a balanced person.
Yeah.
Because if you're crazy and you're with a crazy person, you kind of both get it. But if you're crazy and somebody's measured, they're like, I can't handle this kind of crazy.
And you can't really break other people's things when you're having the spicy moment.
You threw a dish, didn't you, or a bowl?
Well, what I do now, I don't do it right now, but what I started doing was I just broke my own stuff, which my husband said made me crazier, because who breaks their own stuff? But I don't break other people's things anymore. I did throw some plates, but they were my plates.
Well, see, I don't destroy property. I have this one thing where I call back and keep calling back, even with my husband. Like when he doesn't pick up and I want to tell him something and get it off my plate.
Yes.
I call and call and call, and he'll call back, and he's like, sweetie, you called 8 times in a row. I understood you called. I saw the missed call. I was going to get back to you. And I sometimes forget that's annoying.
Yeah.
But maybe it's
I said you were annoying before, didn't I?
You hit that nail on the head.
it's spicy.
I used to be the type where I would start really calm. I would start a conversation really calm. But sometimes they're calm. I'm saying something, and you're supposed to be upset about what I'm saying, and they wouldn't get upset, so I'd get more upset. And by the end, he was super calm still, and I looked like I had been electrocuted.
My therapist calls that.
That used to happen to me.
Yeah. My therapist calls it the dance. That's
the
what
dance?
you were doing, the dance.
I don't know.
The dance.
Yeah, you
Didn't feel like a
they
dance.
answer, then you keep going. It's not like a sexy dance.
I don't know how you girls stay married. I really don't. Well,
I've only made it 2 years, Joy. It could happen any day now.
18. There's a lot of acting out on this one here.
You was the best.
Yeah. I mean, I did not stay married because I acted out here and there. You don't stay married.
That's
when you
why
act
I
like
changed.
that.
That's why I
have
We'll be
changed.
right back.
I have evolved.
Welcome back. Michael Jackson's daughter, Paris, opens up to Rolling Stone magazine in a wide-ranging interview. She talks about being bullied, sexually assaulted by a stranger, and her loving relationship with her father, Michael, whom she believed was murdered. And Michael was very protective of her privacy. And so the question that's on the thing there says, what do you think about, why do you think she's speaking out now? I think she's speaking out now because she's strong enough to say, listen, here's what I think. Here's how I feel. Stop questioning who my father is. I told you that's my dad. I don't care what anybody else. I think she's old enough now to answer people in a way that's comfortable for her to say, quit asking me these stupid questions.
Yeah. Well, she also said somewhere in regard to fame, she said to use it to draw attention to favored causes. She said, I was born with this platform. Am I going to waste it and hide away, or am I going to make it bigger and use it for more important things? So that could probably
She's
work.
stronger.
Yeah.
She's much stronger.
I think what was also interesting is that she said, I consider myself black. She said her father would look her in the eyes and he'd point his finger and say, "You're black, be proud of your roots."
Yeah.
And that to me was wonderful. But what was also kind of, it was difficult for me to read was that she's tried to kill herself multiple times in the years after her father's death. So she's really struggling with that, but she's obviously strong enough now to come forward. But she also seems very fascinated with death because she's a frequent visitor to the Museum of Death, which is this really gory tourist attraction in Hollywood. And she's visited, well, she's visited 9 times. It has all these autopsy photos there. And I just remember decapitation photos. I've been to crime scenes. I've been to autopsies, and you can't unsee it, and it's really jarring. A lot of people vomit when they go to that museum, and I'm surprised that she has that fascination with the.
She might be seeking answers, though. Like when you think of her father having passed and not being able to remedy it.
I don't think it's a fascination. I think it's just. I think it is. When you're as famous as she was as a little baby. People, everything that she did, everybody had something to say about it. And I think the things that she's done now and the things that she's talking about are important for her to get out so that people know that she is okay and that she's grown enough to say, listen, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. And yeah, I'm going to go and look at these things because I'm going to get stronger. Maybe that's what it's making her, because I think it's important because, man, for her to say it out loud, and she doesn't say, I think that man did it, which I thought was interesting. She says she thinks it's a conspiracy.
Conrad Murray.
Conrad Murray. She doesn't say, I think he was part of a conspiracy. She says, I think there was a conspiracy to kill my dad. And that, and when other people said it earlier, everybody poo-pooed it. Now she's saying it, so we'll see, And if you and your partner aren't feeling it in the bedroom anymore. Oh, my God. Science is on the verge of a quick fix. They call it mental Viagra, which is an injection that boosts the lust signals in the brain.
It's interesting. They cannot find a cure for the common cold, and yet all erections are cured. Lack of erections are cured. If you haven't got an interest in sex, they suddenly put a lot of money into that.
Who would want a little mental Viagra? I mean, if you think about it, it's supposed to give you sort of that feeling that you got in puberty. And I just remember being on a... Puberty. Oh, no. I remember the first time I kind of fell in love. And I was riding on... Eddie Velarde was like riding a bike, and I was sitting on the handlebars, and I felt euphoria. It was wonderful.
I don't think that's what it's supposed to do. I think it's supposed to make you feel interested in sex again as
Yeah, but it's not like mental, it's physical. Sometimes like your body needs to be woke. I need like a 1-hour energy, door to door, that's going to cover it. I just need a little
Not a little mental Viagra?
No, my mind wants to do so many things. I just can't.
What are you saying?
That's my Get It On.
That's your Get It On dance?
Yeah.
That's Sarah's Get It On dance.
Maybe I need to work on that.
A little rhythm wouldn't help. We'll be right back. So, talk to us.
So tonight, ABC World News Tonight anchor David Muir has the first interview from the White House with President Donald Trump at 10 p.m. right here on ABC. Check it out.
The light applause is telling.
I think Cindy
It was huge applause.
Thank you
place
guys
was packed.
for coming to the show. We love having you here. We want you to have a great day and take a little time to enjoy the view. The new guy, the new president, had a very busy day yesterday, which we'll get into in a bit, but apparently he's still finding the time to look into something that's truly bothering him since the election. Take a look. So I called that alternative fact number 1.
Yeah.
The reason is because, remember Jill Stein when she was petitioning for a recount?
Yeah.
His guys argued and said all available evidence suggests that the 2016 election was not tainted by fraud or mistake. So which is it?
Those were his lawyers.
Those are his lawyers. So I assume they spoke to him.
But the other thing
and mentioned it.
the other thing that's interesting is that Spicer said that the reason that Trump believed this was because there was a 2014 study by Jesse Richmond and David Ernest who found more than 14% of non-citizens in 2008 and 2010 indicated that they were registered to vote. However, it's been debunked because the people that funded the study, President Trump, said that these same researchers spoke with voters later and discovered that they had all mistakenly clicked the wrong button and that they were actually citizens. So he's relying on a study that was false.
You know what? If the
Alternative fact
election,
number 2.
if the election was rigged and there's voter for it, I say let's do it over again. Let's do it again.
You mentioned the alternative facts. Well, Spicer was on Sean Hannity on Fox last night, and he was trying to explain they compared alternative facts to a varying weather report. And he said the press was trying to make it seem like we were ignoring the facts when the facts are that sometimes. You look at a situation the same way you can look at a weather report. One weather report comes out and says it's going to be cloudy, and the next one says there's going to be light rain. No one lied to you.
That's alternative fact number 2.
Number 3.
That's number.
Well, this
that's
is like
crazy.
Judge Judy's book. Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. That's a book.
Well, I feel like they need to. I like Sean Spicer's approach in the clip we just showed. When he says the president believes that and keeps pushing it off, I think you can trust him a little more with his words. But I know an 8th grade English teacher once told me, once you've found you've dug yourself in a hole, stop digging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Wise words.
Keep in mind that this is, this goes along with the millions of Muslims that he apparently saw on a video somewhere in New Jersey. Everybody in New Jersey was like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, I understand it, but you should, it just, there is no voter fraud.
There is.
And if you really believe there is voter fraud, and apparently he does, and he says they're going to investigate it, then
Good.
We want you to do it with an uninterested party. That's who we want to investigate this.
An objective third party.
An objective third party, maybe from Russia. I don't know.
What's interesting to me about this is that he won the election. Typically you see this kind of activity from someone who didn't win, coming back and saying, well, the reason I didn't win is X, Y. You won the election. You're the president now. Get over it and get on to policy.
He wants the popular vote. He wants the popular vote as well.
If he was going to have a conversation, I think there are conversations to be had about, and we have them here at the table, voter ID laws, good idea, bad idea. If he wants to have a conversation about important issues related to voting, fine. That's great. I actually support voter ID laws for many reasons. That's fine. We can disagree. We can debate. We can talk it out. But you can't say that the reason I didn't win the popular vote is because of this if there's no proof of that. You don't get to do that.
Further, though, he's saying that now he's going to...
people care.
But
He may not care.
He's going further because now he's saying that he's going to open up investigations, and he's really going down a bad path.
Well,
because
let him investigate it.
But there was
But we'll
because
pay
there was
for
a
that.
5-year there was a 5-year probe that the Bush administration started on voter fraud, and the Department of Justice led that, and it led to a lot of resignations and a lot of our taxpayer dollars, not Trump's taxpayer dollars, but ours being used.
Yeah.
Does anybody think that maybe this is all a red herring to distract America from looking at this extreme reactionary agenda that he is pushing through?
I don't think his agenda is reactionary, though.
Come on.
This is his agenda. When I look at his agenda, you could disagree with it. It's exactly what he said he was going to
Okay,
do.
to
I mean,
that
this is
point.
what people voted for. That voted for him.
Yeah.
His voters said, and that Selena Zito, I believe her name is, she's not a Trump supporter, she's a journalist who understands the Trump voters' mind. And she said, we have to understand people's minds. She said that his voters did not, they took him seriously, but not literally. Whereas the liberal media took him literally. And literally, he is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. So they were right.
right. I mean, I'm a center-right person. I'm looking at the agenda. I'm not surprised by any of it. I'm not. This is exactly what I thought he was
To
going to do.
overthrow the EPA,
Well,
to
let's get
overthrow
to an
Obama.
AIDS.
We can
Let's
talk about
start
it. We're
from
gonna get
here
to it.
so that we can get into everything.
All
AIDS to the new president leaked some details to the Washington Post about his somewhat erratic behavior since the election. Supposedly was very enraged when he saw how the Women's March kind of overshadowed the inauguration coverage. I mean, and it's just, so the question is, you know, what's happening? Because he's doing everything, you're right, he's doing everything he said he was going to do. See, we did take him literal. We took him literal.
Yeah.
That's why people were upset. They knew what he was going to do, and they voted for him anyway. So, okay, so now that you're looking at all of this, and you're saying, so, we're now going to pay for some wall that, you know, that you say you're going to build. So he's written that, and we're not taking care of, you know,